Be still and know God.
Be still and know God.
Calling me, calling me.
Calling me, calling me.
I feel the love around me.
I feel the love around me.
Loving me, loving me.
Loving me, loving me.
I sense the stillness inside of me.
I sense the stillness inside of me.
Be still and know God.
Be still and know God.
Calling me, calling me.
Calling me, calling me.
A voice trying to guide me.
A voice trying to guide me.
Loving me, loving me.
Loving me, loving me.
I feel the presence within me.
I feel the presence within me.
Be still and know God.
Be still and know God.
Calling me, calling me.
Calling me, calling me.
I serve the force that begins me.
I serve the voice that begins me.
Loving me, loving me.
Loving me, loving me.
Be still and know God.
Be still and know God.
I join the oneness around me.
I join the oneness around me.
Be still and know God.
Be still and know God.
Calling me, calling me.
Calling me, calling me.
I feel the love around me.
I feel the love around me.
Loving me, loving me.
Loving me, loving me.
Be still and know God.
Be still and know God.
Loving me, loving me.
Loving me, loving me.
Be still and know God.
Be still and know God.
Loving me, loving me.
Loving me, loving me.
Be still and know God.
Be still and know God.
Loving me,
Good morning, everyone. I believe that this talk I'm about to give is possibly the most important talk I have ever given on spiritual healing. And you will benefit greatly during this talk if you keep in mind the principle upon which the entire unity movement was founded, which is Christ in you, your hope of glory. And that particular truth comes from the book of Colossians. Can we have this first PowerPoint, please? That's the wrong one. That's not it. No. Okay. I'll have to do it from memory. Just strike that out. That is not Colossians 1:25-27. That's last week's. Okay. I will do it from memory. It's the Apostle Paul speaking in the book of Colossians, chapter 1:25-27. He says, I became a minister in God for you, that I might reveal to you the mystery hidden for ages, but now being permitted to be revealed to all seekers, that mystery being Christ in you, your hope of glory. Just think about that. A mystery hidden for ages. For ages, people today still think of Christ as the man who lived 2,000 years ago and believe that on some distant day, this very spiritual, miracle-working man will return to take the faithful with him back to heaven. Well, the scriptures deny that idea outright, because the man that lived 2,000 years ago said, the kingdom of heaven is now at hand. The kingdom of heaven is in the very midst of you. And so this Christ in you, this hope of glory, is the departure of unity from traditional Christianity, which holds Christ separate and apart as a historic figure, holds heaven separate and apart that you might get to on some distant day. But in truth, the scripture is revealing to us that this divine nature exists within us, and it is by accessing this nature that we enter the consciousness divine, which we refer to as the kingdom of God or heaven. That said, I want to share with you a statement made by the naturopathic doctor that facilitated my healing of COVID, Dr. Charlie Cropley. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please?
It's coming. There it is.
This is Dr. Charlie Cropley. Spiritual healing is not something that occurs mysteriously or magically. All healing is governed by God's laws, i.e., universal laws of physics, chemistry, thermodynamics, etc. Plain, old, ordinary healing, such as the healing of a cut or burn, is miraculous, albeit ordinary. So, with that said, most people are aware of what takes place in the healing process, even though they may be going through different healings in their lifetime. And when it comes to spiritual healing, they have no awareness whatsoever about the chemistry that goes on within the physical body as it's going through the healing process. So they think of it as magic. Spiritual healing in their awareness is something like a magician passing a wand over a top hat and then having a rabbit come out of the hat. But the fact is, there are all kinds of energies and miraculous things really taking place, but they're taking place on a chemical level and a thermodynamic level and a cellular level, on a biological level of the body. But as I said, while we're healing and being involved in healing, most ordinary average people have no awareness of that process. That said, I almost died of COVID-19. And it was a horrible experience. It was the worst dark night of my soul, when you get right down to it, that brought me to the door of death. That's how bad it was. And I suffered it for close to a month. But for those of you that might be interested in how you can facilitate the COVID virus in killing you, I want to share this, because this is what I did. On Christmas Eve, someone came up to me after the show and congratulated me on a beautiful Christmas Eve service. And right after doing that, he said offhandedly, "Oh, and I tested positively for COVID today." I didn't pay much attention to it because he was still standing a few feet away. And so I passed it off and went on about my life with a plan that I had put in place a long time ago for a Christmas dinner party in which I invited 15 members of my family and friends to attend. So here's what you do if you want to facilitate the COVID virus in killing you. Have a dinner party at which you eat tofurkey, which is tofu turkey. And I had tofurkey with, it was just covered with gravy. And I had mashed potatoes, you know, just dripping with butter, and vegetables all dripping with butter. I don't know why people put so much butter on vegetables, but on every vegetable we had butter. And when we got to the salad, we had two different kinds of salad. One slathered with ranch dressing, and the other with blue cheese dressing. And of course, when it's a feast, you must have something of everything. And you must wash this down with glasses of red wine. And then you must get to the dessert. And certainly have a piece of pumpkin pie with whipped cream on it and a piece of apple pie with ice cream on it. I kid you not, this was what I did to facilitate the COVID virus in killing me. Because, and I finished, when I finished doing that, I heard a loud, unmistakable voice within say, "You stupid SOB, I quit." That was the voice of my immune system. So if you follow my instructions, you'll get the same voice. But it was only a half a day later that I lay in bed with a raging fever, my nose running, my eyes burning, my entire body, ached from head to toe, and I had full-on COVID disease. And from there, it got worse, and I was transferred by choice to Santicia's house, where she could facilitate me taking the number of medications that my son Dell sent. And he sent them to me way before we ever had COVID. He said, if you ever get COVID, this is what you do. And he had his doctor friend call and explain how to administer all of these medications. And Santicia faithfully helped me take these medications. And I went from really feeling like I was at death's door to being worse. I became so sick and so weak that I was finally, after about 6 days of this, delivered to a hospital on a gurney, in an ambulance, on a gurney, because I didn't have the strength to walk. And at the hospital, they ran some tests, including a CAT scan. And the first question they ask you, they asked me anyway, were you vaccinated? And I said no. And I'm not so sure that had any effect on the people working, but the young doctor there made some kind of a limited remark about it, but I can understand their position. They believe wholeheartedly in their medicine and their treatments, and they believe you should be vaccinated. Anyway, they went through this whole thing of tests, handed me a couple of sheets of printed paper, and they had called Santicia to pick me up the same day. They weren't going to keep me. And I'm saying I couldn't walk. That's how weak I was. And they wheeled me out to Santicia's car. They could have easily wheeled me to the dumpster behind the church and dropped me in, because that's how bad I felt. Got back in Santicia's car, went to her house. At that point, Norma and I had agreed that Dell, well-meaning, wise as can be, in touch with all the different modalities of healing COVID, it just wasn't for me. Whatever it did, it exacerbated my health. It exacerbated my sickness.
You have to understand, we don't even take aspirins. This is a body that has nothing but natural remedies, herbs and stuff, so I don't want him to leave that out.
Okay? So Norma and I retreated back to our house up in the mountains, where we were, and I was ready to die, by the way. I'm actually figuring out the different things I have to do to give out my belongings and what I want done with my remains and all the things that go along with, this is it, you're done. And we were going to use whatever alternative methods we had, but Norma had asked Santisha to call Dr. Cropley, someone who we had worked with mostly with the kids when they were young. And Dr. Cropley came up to my house to examine me, and he read the hospital report, which I didn't even read. I'm assuming, I don't know what, but you can't read a hospital report when your mind is spinning, your head is spinning. You can't see straight, you can't think straight, you're nauseous. You're so sick, and the pain is so awesome in your body that you don't think about trying to read what they had discovered. But fortunately, Dr. Cropley read very carefully the medical report, and then he did his own examination on me. And the first thing he said is, "I'm worried about you." I said, "Oh, well, that's a good start." He said, "I'm worried about you, but if you're willing to go along with my treatments, I think I can give you some immediate help and then possibly some long-range healing." And he said, we're going to start with a fast. This is not like music to your ears when you can't stand up. And he recommended that he's going to start with a fast. And we had a little discussion, because at that point I was actually forcing a cup of food down in the morning, forcing it down because I couldn't eat, really didn't want to eat, and I had to stop myself from throwing up when I was doing this. But I said to him, well, wait a minute. I'm forcing a cup of oats, cooked oats down in the morning and a cup of quinoa down in the afternoon because I'm trying to get energy back in my body. And he said, your body doesn't work that way. And I had to take his word for it because he'd been around a long time. And if he failed at healing me, I would have killed him. So he went on to explain to me the method of fasting that gives the organs an opportunity to recuperate and respond in their own wise way to start to bring about energy back into your body and back in to bring your health back. And I had no other options, so I went along with it. And so it was after about 5 days of this remedies, which are interesting to say the least. One of them tastes like it shouldn't be interesting. But after about 5 days, I started to feel better. And then at about 7 days, I was feeling marginally good at this treatment. And the good doctor was beginning to give me suggestions for food I might start to eat. Anyway, I don't think I would be here today had that process not taken place. But I'd just like you to know I was at death's door. I mean seriously, up and ready to die, and it's quite possible I could have died. People my age getting COVID do die. And so that actually occurred. Now I want to turn to the most important question in the Bible. Do you want to be healed? Do you want to be healed? It sounds like an absurd question because it seems to us that anyone who is sick wants to be healed. but there's something we need to understand about the process. So I'm going to be reading to you from the Gospel of John, chapter 5, where this question arises. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, in Hebrew called Bethsaida, which has 5 porches. In these lay a multitude of invalids, blind, lame, paralyzed. One man was there who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him and knew that he had been lying there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be healed?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is troubled, and while I am going down, another steps in before me." You should know that there's a footnote at the bottom of this passage that explains a belief that was held in that particular area, that when this pool in Bethsaida was troubled or stirred up, it was believed that an angel had entered the pool. And if you could get into the pool when that happened, you would be healed. So now this paralytic is explaining to Jesus that when Jesus asked him, "Do you want to be healed?" the sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is troubled, and while I am going down, another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your pallet and walk." And at once the man was healed, and he took up his pallet and walked. It is the reason why I said in the beginning, you will benefit greatly from this talk if you understand the principle upon which unity is founded, which is Christ in you, your hope of glory. And I advise you, when you read the New Testament, everything you see Jesus doing, you must understand is timeless. You're watching a historic figure, a symbolic figure, do miraculous healings, but the fact of the matter is that which is taking place is about the universal divine nature that exists at the core of the being of every human being. So Christ in you is what is taking place in this allegory as well. So listen to how the Bible writers do this. They're not interested in explaining to us historic events. They're interested, I'm talking about the New Testament per se. They are interested in explaining to us the nature of human awareness and life. So there is not a single historic reference in this particular allegory. It simply says that in Jerusalem, by the sheep gate, there is a pool in Hebrew which is called Bethsaida, which has 5 porches. There's nothing historic about that to try to reference when this took place or the geographical actual location or anything. It's telling us that there's a pool in Bethsaida which has 5 porches in which there lies a multitude of invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed. Is it so hard when you're opening yourself up and studying the scripture to realize he's speaking about the 5 senses in the sense consciousness, in the consciousness that the world embraces and lives in, a multitude of invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed, sick in every way. And so here the divine Christ within is asking the question, do you want to be healed? And if you want to be healed, it's necessary for you to take to task your initial awareness, which was given you by the world in which you were born, the world of the senses, the five senses in which you were born, which is filled with limited ideas and negative understanding and does not really understand healing or sickness. It simply lives in it and has become used to it. And that's why the question, do you want to be healed? Which comes down to, what are you willing to do to remove the blocks to healing? And again, Dr. Cropley was saying to me, are you willing to do my treatments? And he's cautioning me because saying the first thing is a fast. And so are you willing to even become weaker than you actually are right now? To trust something you know very little about. And here you have the same idea being shared. It's speaking to all of us. We have been badly taught by the world, and there are so many different scriptures that make reference to that, and you've heard me make reference to that. And the Master of Life is saying, I have overcome the world. The resurrection he's talking about, I have overcome the thinking of the sense consciousness world. And if we are ever going to arrive in that wonderful place of divine God consciousness, in which nothing, and I say this is going to happen at some point in the evolution of humanity. We may not be there yet. I'm not even there yet, obviously. The COVID virus really took me down. But I believe we will evolve to that place where we'll become so aware of our true nature that there will not be any result coming from the thinking and the disease of the world. And I want to correlate this with what we've been saying. So remember that Jesus in the Bible is the Christ in you. I know, I'm asking you, I've studied metaphysics for years, meditated upon it, I've taught it, and so saying to you that you should get into the Bible on a metaphysical level, get into the Bible with your heart and your devotion, and the metaphysics will begin to reveal themselves to you. And we have a beautiful book written by Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore, the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, which you can look up any word in the Bible and it gives you the deeper metaphysical meaning that it has. So, what Dr. Cropley said about the laws of chemistry determining the conditions in the physical body is true. There are those that have studied the biology of the body and understand, as Dr. Cropley does, the physical laws involved in the body. And so he can use alternative treatments like fasting and food to, alter the chemistry in the body and bring it back to health. But this is important to know, because we're not learned or wise as the good doctor. Most of us haven't studied to that degree. So we haven't got a clue about the chemistry that takes place in our physical bodies. But the masters of life always did. I want to share this with you from Master Ruby Nelson. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? This is a long one. From her book, Door to Everything, on page 78. As the great life force expresses itself in you or anywhere in nature, its most essential action is taking place on the microscopic level. The little things in life are the things that make the difference. The activity that goes on in a realm invisible to your natural eyes is a very orderly perpetration of chemical processes which make it possible for consciousness to experience. You are presently living in an organism which could properly be called a specialized chemical workshop. In this microcosmic world of cellular activity, the major work being done at lightning fast speed is that of tearing down various molecular substances and synthesizing new kinds to fill the cellular needs. The surface mind has no idea how this work is done. It is carried on below the level of awareness. It is directed by the wisdom of the soul. The orientation and condition of the surface mind, however, do play vitally important parts. They determine whether a body is free and open, is a free and open outlet for the dynamic force of life, or whether only a trickle of this life force seeps through. What is being said here is that we human beings do not understand all the intricacies of the chemistry that take place in our physical bodies, but that we are instrumental in aiding healing and things like that to take place by being open enough. In other words, we have to be open enough to allow the soul to reveal to us what we need to be doing. Just like the paralytic had to take to task the whole concept of the five sense world and its limited, debilitating thinking. What are human beings doing upon this planet? We are doing just that. We are learning, and we are taking to task the thinking of the world that we were raised in and educated in, and that the authorities of the world believe in. I'm talking about the authorities, those considered the authorities of the world. And I do believe that we're on an evolutionary path, and where so many of these limited concepts that hold us in bondage, because what you believe, what you truly deeply believe, influences the entire operation of that chemistry you call your body. And so if you want to be healed, you simply have to be willing to take to task your own awareness and thereby eliminate many of the things that you have believed in. And you have to let that go in some way, at least with faith. Let that go so that the Spirit of God, which is the Christ in you, the soul consciousness, can orchestrate your healing through this chemical process that's taking place. And I'll tell you something as well. I've been in this a long time. I've been involved in spiritual healing a lot over the years, even though I learned a lot this recently. But this soul consciousness is not a separate element. Every soul is in communication. A Course in Miracles says all minds are in communication, but to the degree that that individual allows that communication to take place is a matter of his or her choice. So when it comes to healing, we have to take to task our own awareness. A lot of times you have to say to yourself, what have I been thinking? What negative ideas have I been generating within my body and mind? Because what you're generating in mind is going to be outpictured in your physical experience. And then you have to say to yourself, what have I been eating that may not be the best for my chemical process in my body? And so you have to ask yourself, what maybe I have to give up? Or what, challenging treatments from a naturopathic doctor will I have to use in order to allow my body to reconstruct its health? And there are things that we have to do. We have to make the choice. It comes down, do you want to be healed? And unfortunately, as it's given here, you see the paralytic making the excuse. People make excuses why they can't be healed. Because they really, for some reason, don't want to be healed. There's lots of people, just like the paralytic lying there 38 years, he developed a lifestyle. People would walk by, he'd talk to them and give them his story. Oh, I've been here, I've been suffering. We have people that are victims, and the victim consciousness is so important to them that they're not willing to step away from it and take to task their own awareness. So you have to check yourself out in this. And what are you saying casually over and over again? What are you believing that you're saying casually over and over again that is simply bad thought? So let me share this with you from the Master Ruby. Can we have that next PowerPoint, please? This is what she's talking about, is what I just said about the pool at Bethsaida. The door to everything, page 48. Withdrawal from race beliefs is the first important step if you wish to shift your center of consciousness to the inside of that door in mind, the door that leads into Christ consciousness, that opens up for you a garden paradise of reality among the stars. Withdrawal from race beliefs, sensory consciousness information that went into your consciousness from your childhood on up. If you wish to shift your center of consciousness to the inside of that door in mind, the door that leads into Christ consciousness, that opens up for you a garden paradise of reality among the stars. That's the truth about the pool at Bethsaida. One has to transcend the input that has fashioned our thinking, that in turn has fashioned not only our physical lives, but our physical relationships in the world. I do believe that my inner prayer, my desire to be healed, actually involved bringing Dr. Cropley to my house. I think it just had to happen that way because all souls are in communication, and in some way or other, I needed to have the expertise that exists in the awareness of that doctor to save me from COVID.
I think you should mention that he's a naturopath.
I did.
Oh, okay.
I did mention that. Let me put it this way. He's an amazing naturopath. Oh, and an interesting thing that it's all by coincidence. We have a workshop taking place at 1 o'clock today, being given by a classical certified homeopathic person, Wendy Littlepage. It's taking place from 1 o'clock to 2:30 today in Fellowship Hall, and it's $35, and she's going to reveal to you homeopathic medications and how they work in the body for healing. So you can do that, take this stuff.
We have used these remedies and these forms of healing, raising our children, and we live our life on these remedies. We do not go to the AMA or CDC, and it's great for other people, but for us, that was not the way this lifetime. And as soon as we met, we got into natural healing, and we totally believe in it.
I want to share a meditation with us. I'm going to conclude it now with a meditation. And do we still record these sessions on CD? Well, actually, you can get them online, right? You can get them on YouTube just by dialing in Unity of Boulder and looking it up. But again, following this today, we're going to have a circle meeting in Fellowship Hall, if I can pull it off. There'll be people in there that'll just be visiting and carrying on. But if it happens, it'll be okay. So if you want to meet, it'll be about 5 or 10 minutes after we finish here to have a Q&A about anything that I've spoken about today. And I'm going to have Dr. Cropley sitting in with us in case there's something specific that you need to know regarding something you're dealing with, whatever. So let's just take a couple of deep breaths. Relax into your meditation space. I will daily seek to open my mind to the divine Christ presence through prayer and meditation. I will allow the Christ consciousness to reveal any limited beliefs I have about activities I participate in and foods I eat that are harmful to my soul and body. I will be open to eliminate negative and limited conversation about myself and others. This week, I will use this mantra throughout each day. Speak no evil. Hear no evil. See no evil. I will daily seek to open my mind to the divine Christ presence through prayer and meditation. I will allow the Christ consciousness to reveal any limited beliefs I have about activities I participate in and foods I eat that are harmful to my soul and body. I will be open to eliminate negative and limited conversation about myself and others. This week, I will use this mantra throughout each day. Speak no evil, hear no evil, see no evil. And now when Norma plays these bowls, just hold that mantra in your awareness. Speak no evil, hear no evil, see no evil. as we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space. Let us go forth with a greater determination to be awake while we are living, to allow the intuitive divine to speak to us in relationship to our thoughts and actions, to be awake and come to enjoy the grand peace that accompanies being awake. For this opportunity in every moment, we give thanks. And to this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. And you can place an offering in the basket if you wish, or dip your credit card into the dip credit card device in the lobby. Or those of you online, you can look over here and see the different ways you can donate to Unity of Boulder. So now let us bring to mind that financial gift. I always ask to turn the lights up a little bit in the sanctuary so people might be able to write a check. Thank you. All right, so now let's bring to mind that financial gift we'd like to make to Unity of Boulder. And let's bless it with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give.
I hear all creation calling, calling me to honor and respect all life. I hear the call, I hear the call.
Thank you all for joining us today. And we'll have the second service will be Santisha speaking. And we will enjoy that as well. And we will be doing a burning bowl ceremony at the second service, in which we will be releasing any negative, chronic situation that we may be experiencing in our lives. We're going to release it through the symbolic act of burning it in our burning bowl. So again, I'll remind you that we do have a classical homeopathic person who will be teaching homeopathy and how those particular medications work in the body. That workshop will take place at 1 o'clock to 2:30. It's $35 to attend. We will, in about 5 or 10 minutes, circle up our chairs in Fellowship Hall on the wood floor that's toward the back near the mirrors. So those of you who'd like to stay and participate in the Q&A, I'll be there in 5 or 10 minutes. To everyone, have a beautiful day.